By knowing the secret of light, we will know the mystery of life and death, of reincarnation, of matter and space, and the relationship of suns to planets. The more we know the light, the more we shall realize our purpose in manifesting that light gloriously. Every moment of life in the light is a moment of glorification in the awareness of our omnipotence in manifesting the light. Someone once asked Toscanini's son, "What was the highest point in your father's life?" The answer was, "Every point in it is his highest point. He lives gloriously and fully every moment of his life, whether conducting an orchestra or peeling an orange." That is what we must do when we fully know the purposefulness of life. Live it gloriously by living it ecstatically. We can live it ecstatically only as we know the ecstatic nature of God and become like Him through being continually inspired by communion with Him. To become like Him, we must become aware of our identity with Him. We must know Him as Creator of all that is, and in so doing, know ourselves as Creator of all that is. God's one purpose is to express His will by giving of His love in the fulfillment of His law. Our one purpose is to give love in conformity with the law. God has no other purpose, nor has man. Nature expresses that purpose in every action, which records God's knowing through His thinking. The more we find the God of our searching, the more we know Him and become like Him. That is what I mean by the perpetual transformation of man. As man more fully knows his purpose on earth, by continually finding the kingdom of heaven within him. That is also what I mean by constant communication with God. Communion of identity, which is oneness. Not communion with Him as though He were another. The more we thus know God, the less we pray in the traditional, customary sense, which means finding words to express our desire periodically whenever we feel that there is something to ask for. Whenever I feel that ecstasy of love in me, I know that God and I are working together as one, not He and me, but just one. When I am inspired to create with Him as one, I know that His knowing and His thinking are my knowing and my thinking. My words are always mastery when I am thus one with the light, for I know that I am giving out God's love as commanded of me. I know that my inspiration is God's silent voice being recorded through me. That ecstatic love state of my consciousness is my forever prayer, which gives me my desires because of knowing God's desires. Whenever I am in that state, I am praying, and whenever the demands of earth and body cut me off from that continuous state of communion, then things go wrong. Work done then is not masterly. All the little troubles of earth and ills of body pile up in front of me to become mountains until I am again in the light of love. When that happens, all inharmonies disappear. Needed supply comes toward me instead of my seeking it. Ills of body are as though they were not. An omnipotential power is mine again. Thus it is that humanity flounders purposelessly because of being unaware of purpose. Thus it is that weaknesses, fears, and illnesses attack the bodies of individual and collective man whenever he fails to manifest God's will by the giving of love. Normalcy of body and mind can come only to him who is purposeful part of nature. So long as purposefulness is manifested by any unit of God's creation, just so long will normalcy of that unit continue. The slightest breach of the law is instantly balanced by recording abnormalcy in that unit. The measure of such recorded abnormality is the measure of that breach of the law. In this manner, the units of nature which are expressing their purposefulness are continued in normalcy throughout their cycles, while those which breach their normalcy are attended with the consequences of their unbalanced actions. Nature thus manifests its law by getting rid of purposeless units. For as soon as any of them cease to be purposeful, by expressing the universal love principle, nature shortens their cycles to eliminate them. Anger, for example, is not love, therefore it is not a purposeful manifestation of the fundamental principle of nature. He who expresses anger breaks the universal law of love, for so doing that law breaks him, by creating toxic effects within his body in the measure of his own self-condemnation. This is a balanced universe of love. Every wave of God's thinking records that absolute balance of love. Every unbalanced wave of man's thinking creates distortions which must be balanced by himself. These distortions do not affect the balance of the universe. Its purposefulness continues in its balanced expression of universal law. Consider our present civilization in this light. It is not plainly evident that mankind has been breaking the law so violently that he has himself condemned himself to self-destruction. The whole world body is sick unto death for its flagrant breach of purposefulness, by breeding hate and fear, through manifesting greed instead of manifesting the love nature of God. The entirety of civilization is slated for self-destruction for that reason, and its only chance for a renaissance lies in replacing greed with love in all human relations. Over and over again, man has broken himself by thus disobeying the law, and he will forever continue to break himself until he comprehends the law sufficiently to obey it. Through comprehension, man can save himself. That is what Paul meant when he said, "Therefore be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." When we know the fulcrum and lever principle of the wave, we shall know the father-mother principle of this creating universe. We shall comprehend the mechanics of that principle as applied to every action in nature. We shall then comprehend that the universe is merely an electric record of God's thinking. The whole product of his thinking is in formed body images of his knowing. That is what the universe is, the one ideal of God's knowing, divided into the many ideals of his thinking, and those many ideals multiplied into countless units of formed bodies of these many ideals. The forms thus recorded never become the ideals. That which is God never becomes matter. That which is the still light is extended into the two moving lights to record God's knowing by his thinking. But we who are the imaged record of that thinking are not the ideal from which we are extended. Our bodies are but the extensions of our God selves. Creator and creation might thus be reduced to the following simple formula, expressed in several word groups, but all of the same meaning. Okay, and I'm going to give those three word groups. Knowing, thinking, product. Power, expression of power, result. Stillness, action, record of action. Light, light waves, matter. Fulcrum, wave lever, motion. Magnetic light, electricity, reflection. Reality, imagination, unreal image. Sexlessness, father-mother, formed bodies. Ideal, division of ideal, projection.